Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Truth About Marketing. I got my guy Devon Kennard here. He's a 9-year NFL vet, two-time award-winning author, and he's the owner-founder of 42 Solutions, which is based right here in Scottsdale. Devon, thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So we start every one of these episodes with a lightning round, and then we could get into your story and everything about you. But if we start with that, is that cool with you?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So first one, favorite business or marketing technology?
A couple come to mind. Number one, I feel like being a small business owner, I use ChatGPT every single day, nonstop. It's kind of like my thought leader, partner. One of my favorite tactics is to actually build a board. So I have like Warren Buffett, Alex Hermosi, Sam Zellman, people that I respect in the business space as on my board. So I bounce ideas like, what do you think is the best, strategy based on my business model? Should I say yes to this opportunity? So yeah, I use ChatGPT all the time.
Very good. And then favorite social channel?
Favorite social channel, I'm actually going to have to go with Shaq's page. It's funny, but I really respect him as a businessman. So I really love the kind of balance that he's himself, but then also like you got to put respect on his name with, what he's done as a businessman. So I just like him. That whole crew on TNT, I think they're going to ESPN now, but I think they're hilarious. So yeah, that's my favorite for sure.
All right, least favorite social channel. And this could be, like I said, it could be a channel or it could be an individual.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm not really into the streamer space. So I think the whole like Kai Connect, that most recently, that guy, I think it's Ashton with the whole morning routine. Like I think about the logistics of what they have to do to like record that. And they're like putting a camera up to wash their face and like
right.
I think that mess is outrageous. So all those channels and seeing that stuff more and like banana peel on the face. And then even with Kai's page, I don't think I'm the demographic. It doesn't do anything.
Like a Gen Z, something going on.
Yeah, it's not my thing for sure.
Yep. All right, brand a person with good marketing.
With good marketing, a couple people come to mind. Alex Hermosi and The Rock. I really like authenticity and being able to be kind of, really yourself. So I like Alex Hermosi because he talks about business from his vantage point. And then The Rock, he promotes all of his businesses, but he does it within his life. Like, I really like how he kind of promotes Terramana. It's like he's big into food, but he'll have his cold Terramana. Like I think tying in the brands and what he's doing with his lifestyle, I respect that a lot.
Awesome. And then brand or person that needs help with marketing.
I actually think JSX Airlines, I feel like I would be their target market, but I'd never see anything around them. And then I forget all about them. And every once in a while I'll have like a friend who uses them. It's like, bro, it's a no brainer.
Right.
And I just always forget about them. It's not like when I go to book something, I never think about, let me check JSX. So I think they need to do a better job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I live right across the street at the Scottsdale airport and I never see ads at all. And it's probably the most convenient thing ever for me. So that's hilarious. Okay. And then favorite influencer or business leader?
Kind of mentioned him before, but Alex Hermosi, I've been listening to his podcast nonstop recently because I'm a real estate guy, but I've really kind of been focused on business and building businesses around real estate. So, hearing his philosophies, how he approaches things, he's my favorite, hands down right now.
Awesome. And then brand or person you'd like to work with the most?
The brand or person I'd like to work with the most is actually Kith. It's a clothing brand based out of New York. I found them like I feel like they're pretty popular now, but I found them in 2014 when I first got in the league, and I would always go to their store. And I feel like half my closet is Kith clothes. But to be a bigger guy, I got like big thighs and stuff, and they got stuff that fits.
There you go.
It's not like designer pricing, but it's not like cheap H&M either. So it's like in between pricing. So I would love to work with them and be like one of their main spokesmen because I wear all their stuff anyways.
I feel that. That's good. All right. Well, we made it through the questions. So good job on that. I think we got a lot of different diverse answers that we don't normally see. So that's a good thing. But yeah, why don't you now like tell us a little bit more about yourself, kind of your journey, how you got to where you are today and what you're focused on.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned 9-year NFL career. I'm born and raised out here in Phoenix, second generation NFL player. My dad played 13 years. I ended up going to the league, played 9 years, went to USC for college. So I was always kind of had the mindset of what I'm going to do after football because I had a father who played and I knew that there's a lot of life on the other side of it. So my thing was real estate. I started buying real estate as soon as I got in the league, built a portfolio of over 40 properties. I still own 30 today. Started investing in large deals as a limited partner passively. So invested in over 50 deals, currently in about 40. And then almost 5 years ago, I started lending on the side to fix and flippers, developers, and that's really kind of levied into a business, which is 42 Solutions, where I lend to developers, fix and flip investors here locally, and help them grow their wealth and do projects. And I'm able to fund the deals and be the bank essentially. So that's kind of the trajectory I've had. I've utilizing my football money to then pivot and grow business here locally in Arizona. And but this being a marketing channel, one thing that has been a big pivot for me is I've written a couple of books, I've spoken on a lot of national stages, and I'm actually reverting back and doing the opposite now, to where like I feel like I had a good national exposure writing books, speaking on national stages, but there was a lot of travel involved with that and it wasn't affecting necessarily bottom line. And I'm like, I
Yeah,
can do a lot of business here locally in Arizona, go deeper, travel less, and make more money at the end of the day, and
right.
have better work-life balance that way. So really been focused on that and going deeper instead of wider, and that's been fun.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I mean, obviously, there's a natural lift that you get from playing in the league and all that kind of stuff. And then again, you're a local guy, so even more that you're here. What does that look like when it comes to, again, you're trying to source more deals, whether it's a real estate deal, a lending deal, whatever, from a marketing perspective and trying to get yourself out there? What does that look like for you currently? And again, like you said, you had a national platform. How are you kind of reeling that back in, and what are you focused on?
Yeah, so in my business at first, when I first started lending, I was lending to investors all over the country. I was more so basing it off of like I want really good operators, people I could build good relationships with. But the smarter I got in business, the more I started to understand it was like I'm taking on more risk having deals all over the country when I can be in my own backyard. I have contractors I work with. I have network here.
Right.
If something goes wrong with the property, I can take over it way easier if something were to happen on a loan bad or even a property I own badly here in Arizona. So that was kind of the shift. And on the marketing side, I can be more targeted. So for me, when I'm in Arizona, it's nothing to go to a real estate event, go to a meetup. You kind of everybody's 1 to 2 degrees removed from
Right.
each other if you're in the
That's a big
business
one.
space or the real estate space. So you meet one person, that leads to another opportunity. So word of mouth and referrals and on the local level is can be very impactful. And I think it depends the kind of business you're trying to build. So for me, there's big national and regional lenders who are trying to have a portfolio of 100 million, $200 million loans. They have to go wide and they have to market differently because they need to do a lot of paid ads. They need to show themselves to as many people as possible. But when you're dealing with a smaller pool of money, I don't need that many leads. I need good leads by good operators who I can do repeat business with. So understanding your business model and your marketing strategy, I don't think I will be doing paid ads, maybe not ever, but not anytime soon,
Right.
because I can fund a lot of loans and do really good volume here locally just by word of mouth and referrals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's something also we're seeing more and more of it across, whether, it's individual industries or marketing in general. But my clients and stuff that I've worked with, I think we've seen a huge kind of shift in, hey, instead of trying to be everything to everybody, or we're doing an ad campaign nationally, like where do we win the most? Which states are we in? Which communities are we in? Where can we go in and target and address those individuals? And I've seen that work so much better than these people are trying to cast this wide net and we'll just take whatever we can get. Because also, too, like you said, when it comes to a larger deal, like, yeah, but then that larger deal is a larger deal cycle, which involves more people and more time and more resources. Then what happens when you don't win the deal? Like,
Exactly.
then you just wasted all that time and all those months and energy and everything else. Whereas, hey, you can go manage 3 deals in one day in Phoenix because you can drive, west side of
Exactly.
Phoenix and go North Scottsdale, then down to Tempe, and you could hit it all in one day.
Easily. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I think more business people need to have that mindset and have vision. Like, what kind of model are you looking for in your business? So if you're in a business model that needs volume and to scale, then your strategy is going to be a little different than somebody who's running a lean operation and can make really good money and reach their goals with a smaller team, with the smaller operation, etc. So understanding what the end goal is. And, in football, I remember it was rookie symposium and Eddie George, Hall of Fame running back. Something I remembered from back then was like, begin with the end in mind. So I take that into business, and it's like, what is my end goal? How big do I want to get? What do I want my business to look like? And having a marketing strategy that puts you on that trajectory, and being intentional with it. So that's what
Yep.
I'm trying to do now, and organically grow that in a way. And things can change over time, but right now it seems to be working really well for me.
Absolutely. And one thing that I find super interesting, because again, you talk about, having the end in mind from the very beginning. I mean, you stated that you were, as a player in the NFL and you had a dad that played, that you kind of had this idea of what you wanted to do post football, right? A lot of guys don't necessarily think about that. They're just thinking about the next 5 days, 5 years, whatever, versus 50. But talk a little bit about how that kind of shaped your approach. So again, you understanding that, hey, I'm going to have a brand in the NFL. I'm going to be a player. There's going to be this time in my life, but then how do I transition that outward? And then kind of part B to that question, did that like help you or did it hurt you? Like, did you get people that are coming to just want to do stuff with you because, oh, it's the NFL player? Or was it like, I actually got a lot more better, like great opportunities because I had built up this good character and this good kind of persona?
Yeah, I think it was good and bad for different reasons. So the good part about it is nobody's going to be as interested in you as they are when you're playing in the NFL. So recognizing that and taking advantage, my mindset was like, I'm going to open as many doors as I possibly can, build as many relationships, because I feel like, I'm a good person overall. I have good integrity. I work hard. If it's something I'm passionate about, I'm going to learn. I'm going to get better. So if I can open the door, then I believe I'll be able to keep that door open long after my career is over. So that was kind of the mindset and the outlook that I took. And I really hate the concept that a lot of people have of like burn the boats, plan A, just stick with that. And I think it depends on your life. So for me, plan A, it entails what I'm doing after the NFL because it's my life still. Like, it's
Right.
like, I'm not going to just be pigeonholed to football when I know it can be taken away from me at any point, and I
Right.
got to figure it out. So if you're in a career where you're going to pivot and you're going to quit one day, or you plan on retiring, then thinking about and preparing for what you're going to do when that day comes is not plan B. That's a part of plan A. So
Right.
I look at that. I looked at what I do at post NFL life as a part of my plan A, not plan B.
Right.
So when you have that vantage point and you looking at it that way, it's like, how do I leverage what I'm doing now to put me in a better position for what I may do later? And I didn't know I was going to create a private lending company, and that was
Right.
going to be one of my main vehicles, but I knew that I wanted to be in real estate, and that grew into ultimately wanting to start my own business and going that route. And the knowledge that I learned, it built momentum for me from once I was retired.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's super important. I think that gets glossed over quite a bit. And again, you got your A1 superstars who are making 50 million a year. I get that. You probably don't have to work another day in your life. But for a lot of, with the average NFL career as well, like 2.5 years, something like that, 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not a long time. And when you go from making that good money to then, oh, you still are accustomed to a kind of lifestyle and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you really do. I think it's very impressive and honestly, like, admirable of you that you thought about it from the very beginning. So hats
But
off to you on
to be
that.
honest, to speak to that, I mean, even thinking about the $50 million guys, the $100 million guys, most of those guys are in business and investing in some way. So
Yeah.
I'm like, if they are doing it, why shouldn't the guy who might only play 3 to 5 years be
Right.
doing it? It's like this reverse psychology to where it's like the guys who aren't necessarily the superstars, they might make comments like, you better focus on ball, and not that you shouldn't. You got to keep the main thing. But it's like, if Patrick Mahomes is buying sports teams and getting sponsorships and ownership of stuff, then the guy who might only play 5 years is going to have to figure life out when he's done, because he only made, even if he made $3 million, that's not going to make you last the rest of your life. So I like that kind of notion of like, just focus on ball. I'm like, the best players don't, and they're the ones that could probably.
Kevin Durant's made way more money off the court than he has on it.
So like my mind, like, it's like, why is it that kind of thing to where like, oh, you need to be focused on ball? And it's not that you shouldn't, but why can't you do both? Why?
Right.
Like, there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much training, lifting, eating healthy, getting treatment, etc. you can do.
Yeah.
What you do with your spare time and what you do with that leisure time is important, and maximizing it to the best of your ability. So I'm really passionate about speaking that into guys and helping them realize that, because they start to see when it's too late that like, oh, I should have done that.
Well, I think too, something that should definitely be acknowledged, and you kind of mentioned it was, look, you're going to get this short window of time where people want to be around you. People are looking at you as like the guy and you're credible and all this stuff because ultimately success breeds opportunity, right? So if you are seen as a successful person that made it to NFL and obviously you got there for a reason, like now people are going to be interested in doing business with you. And like, unfortunately, just like any other position of power or, celebrity or anything of that nature, athlete, you name it, once that window starts to shut, you can't just all of a sudden try to reopen it. Like you said, making the most of those relationships, opening every door possible while you have that window is really, really important. So talk a little bit about, kind of what your advice would be to, I mean, maybe it's a young person, maybe it's somebody transitioning careers. Like, what do you think about all that?
I mean, it's super important to make sure that you open those doors and have those opportunities while the opportunity is there. So even if you're somebody in corporate America, networking, building relationships with other people, because they're going to be climbing the ladder as they go. And that those same people might be providing you opportunities down the line. So I think networking found that business overall, it comes down to who you know and what you know.
Yeah.
So you have to add skills to yourself to be able to provide value. And if you can provide value to the marketplace, whether that's in a job or whether that's in a business you're starting, what have you, then you're going to demand pay. And as you keep adding skills, the pay you can demand is going to increase. So either you're paying yourself and you're adding skills so you can earn more within your own business, or you can demand more within the company you're working for so you can do that. So that's the first way, is what you know and adding skill sets. And the number two is who you know and the relationships that you can build that can help propel you. That whole like self-made thing, it's like I don't really believe in it, because everyone who's been successful has had some breaks with good
Yeah.
relationships along the way.
100%. I mean, I would venture saying, like, shout out to our boy Ryan Howard that introduced us, anyways. But, in talking to him and multiple things and ventures that we've kind of looked at and addressed with each other, it's like most of these people, like, let's say they went to a successful startup and then they built it up successfully, had, $100 million, $500 million, whatever exit. Well, then when they go to their next thing, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to bring the people that helped build them the successful business the first time. So, how he's gotten multiple opportunities because he's good at what he does. He's a
Yeah.
very, very good salesperson, a relationship builder, business development builder. Like that's why he continues to get the opportunities that he does. And it all started, like you said, way back in the beginning. It's
Yeah.
not like he messed around, wasn't good at what he did, didn't open the doors. It was like, no, it all started with that. And now he
Yeah.
just gets opportunity
And
after
then
opportunity.
it compounds. I mean, the best investment you can make is in the skill set that you develop and in the relationships that you build.
Yeah.
When people start to really look at it, you talk about return on investment and where you can, people come to me and it's like, oh, I got $20,000 to invest. I'm like, if you only have $20,000 to invest, you need to be investing in yourself and
Right.
in the people and in the rooms you can get into and the relationships you can build and what you can learn, so that, that's going to be your biggest return. Because if you learn skill sets that then can put you in position to make more money, to meet more people who are going to help you build wealth. So I think that's pivotal. And I think that's the key, especially in today's day and age, because if you're being idle and just sitting around and not learning, not growing, not networking, the world is moving at too fast of a
Right.
clip right now. You're going to get left behind.
Well, also one thing that I learned too, just having come from the tech background, and again, I feel like I'm good at what I do. I feel like I've had a lot of success in certain areas, but one of the bigger things about that you were just mentioning was being able to market yourself, right?
Yeah.
So having the ability and taking that time to not only, be good at what you're doing, but have a good reputation, be able to get yourself out there in the right way, and there's a very delicate balance of, you don't want to be doing too much because then people, like, to your point, focus on ball, right? It's
Yeah.
like, dude, are you over here marketing yourself every 2 seconds? What are you actually doing, like, in life?
Right.
Or the other way around is, if you don't market yourself at all, nobody knows about you, right?
Yeah.
So, like, back in the day when I was doing marketing stuff, and there's like certain awards, like, top 50 business tech PR and Business Insider, right? There's 30 under 30 rising stars, there's all this stuff, and a lot of people are like, why do you do that shit? And I'd be like, because it makes you look really good, and then I'm gonna get my next opportunity based off of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, is it extra time? Yeah, does it take a little extra effort? Of course. Again, taking advantage of every opportunity while you can, you got to do it. Got
Yeah.
to do it.
I'm kind of stealing this from Alex Hermosi, but it's something I've been trying to like figure out for myself for the last like year or two. And I feel like I'm really in a good place finally now. is creating one-of-one content. And when I heard Alex say that, that really stuck out to me. And I think more companies, more brands, and more individuals trying to build their personal brand need to do that. Everyone wants to be an influencer and like teaching stuff on like, this is how you should invest in this, or this is how to start this tech company. And instead of having that kind of framework of how you're talking about your content, how you're positioning yourself, more about this is how I'm doing it. This
Right.
is what I'm doing in my company. These because your background is one of one. Exactly your trajectory of what you've accomplished, the opportunities you've had, the things you've built. Nobody else can replace that. And if you're speaking from that one of one place, then it's you can't argue it, and the content is unique. I'm
Yeah.
doing this. This is working for me. I did this. This was a mistake I made. I have to pivot here. Now that's evergreen content because like people are like, oh, I'm burning out. I don't know what to talk about. Well, if you're actually doing stuff within the
You
industry
shouldn't
you're
be
in or
able
the
to burn
company,
out.
then just talk about what you're doing, and that makes your content one of one. So that's really stood out to me, and it's something because I got caught in that trap
Yep.
of like kind of I feel like I have this knowledge. I got to tell people what to do. And now I'm kind of like, F that, man. I'm going to talk about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why I think it's smart. And nobody can argue that because it's what I'm actually
It's your
doing. It's
strategy.
mine. It's my strategy. It's what's working or what's not working in my life and in my business. So
Yeah,
I,
that's
I kind of
something.
think that's the best strategy. And I'm curious your thoughts. I know you got way more marketing
Listen,
background than I
I
do.
help people build brands and I help build personas and individuals or companies. And one of the things that I will always go back to, I'm like, is it unique and ownable? Right? Is it unique and ownable? Can you definitively say that? And I can't basically take what you just said and say, Devon just said that yesterday.
Right.
Like, no, if I can do that, then there's no value. Why would I share that? Why would I? And if you're just gonna repurpose something that Alex Hormozy or Gary Vee or whoever said, there's no value to the world because they've already heard it, right?
Mhm.
Now, if you want to take, and I think that's also why these perspective videos or reaction videos and all that kind of stuff works so well because it could be the same topic area, but you're getting that person's individual take on that, right?
Yeah.
But go back to your point. Am I going to care about somebody who's not walking the walk? It's just some random person on the internet? No. I need to have trust or want to hear what that person has to say, right? So kind of pivoting a little bit from that, but going into the next part of the conversation of, when you're doing these deals and you're looking for things like that, you're obviously trying to compete against other people, right? There's tons of investors, tons of people in real estate. So what are you doing to market yourself as different or kind of separate yourself from the pack and really create that kind of unique and ownable persona that people want to work with?
So, kind of the things I hang my hat on within my company, 42 Solutions, is we're fast, we're creative, and we're reliable. So I'm coming with people who like they got a great opportunity and they might need to close in the next week or two. You get me all the documentation I need, title clears, all that. I can fund your deal. I'm fast. I set up, I have SOPs put in place. I have the software backing to where I can fund a loan within a day or two. So, that's really attractive to people. And there's other lenders who can do that. So it's an advantage for me, but it's not like that's a huge differentiator. My biggest differentiator is my creative solution. So people who are doing it at a larger scale, they have a very strict buy box of what they can and can't do. And it's typically because their money is coming from institutional capital. They can't do a loan or
Right.
do a deal that the bank wouldn't approve of
Right.
because then they're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be able to get the capital. For me, I'm controlling all my own capital to where I can work outside of the lines when I see
Right.
the right kind of opportunity. And I can cross collateralize assets. I can be creative with the LTV because the borrower's experience and the credit score is good. They have enough liquidity. I'm willing to go up a little higher than they would. So I'm able to kind of see what the other buy boxes are with people doing it at scale and what is my zone of comfort. And because I'm doing it more locally than anywhere else now, I'm willing to take a little more risk than maybe the bigger lender is because I have the infrastructure here in Arizona to where I can take over a project if I need to, because I have contractor relationships. I have investor relationships, wholesalers. My wife is an agent, to where my risk profile, I can go to a higher loan to value, which is like how much I'm willing to give on a loan than the other guy, because it's like, if I had to take over this deal, I can make this work. And I believe in what the
Right.
ARV is, et cetera. So I feel like the creative standpoint in that, fast, creative, and then reliable. The last portion of that is reliable. And that's just, there's some people who are smaller like me and they say they can do something and then they end up not doing it.
Yep.
So I'm straight up. If I have the capital and you give me all the information and I like the deal, if I say we're going to close, we're going to freaking close, and you can rely on me. So there's some people who are at my stage and they don't do that, and that's why people will go to the bigger ones because they're like, at least they'll get it done. Well, I want to show like, hey, I'm not going to be able to do every single deal, and I'm going to tell you what I can and can't do. But when I say yes and we're going to close, we're going to close. So I feel like that's how I've been able to kind of differentiate myself. And to your point, I think knowing that and knowing where you're going to stand out is really important.
100%. I mean, listen, we get into deals all the time as like a marketing agency, consultancy, whatever. I don't know what I don't know. So if somebody's coming to me, asking me to do this like full blown, marketing campaign that entails a bunch of things that I've never done, as far as, if there's some 18-step email campaign, blah, blah. Like, listen, our strong points are X, Y, Z as far as, SEO, website, social media, advertising, those kind of things. You got to just be confident. And again, like you said, that comes to being creative, reliable, this and that. But you don't know what you don't know, or you can't do what you can't do.
And owning that, I love that, to be able to just tell them like, that's a little outside of the scope of what we really do.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
But people respect transparency, and when they have an opportunity that fits within their buy box, they'll still come to you, or when they know what you will do or what you can do. So I think that's super smart.
When it goes back to that kind of, I always call it like that Sun Tzu Art of War deal. It's like, look, in those same reasons that you said, well, maybe we need to work with somebody bigger, I'll pivot back and say, all right, but can they move as quickly? Are they going to answer their phone at 11 p.m.? Or are they going to get you a 12-hour turnaround? They're not. Like, so, you guys are kind of pricey for being smaller, blah, blah, I could get more people. Yeah, but their standard delivery time and everything else, like they have 22 other clients. They're not going to answer you the same way. They're not going to give you that same care. They're not going to. So I'm with you. And it's funny because listening to you talk, when you said, oh yeah, I've kind of pivoted from that national stage, it sounds like you're very well equipped for Phoenix, the Arizona market, you know what I mean? To do kind of the smaller, but have a much bigger impact in that smaller market. So, I mean, again, hats off for figuring that out. Cause I mean, that's how I am. I do have media partnerships in New York. I do some other things, but ultimately my wheelhouse is to be close to the things that I'm good at. Again, this for you sounds very much like a Sun Tzu Art of War. You're smaller, but you move quicker. You're able to execute faster, those types of things.
Yeah, I think there's a huge advantage in that. And unless you plan on growing some massive company, why go wider? And then now you're competing with that. You're not going to be able to like win that battle. Yep. So shrinking the battle now I shrink in the pool and my agility can outbeat them in my smaller pool.
Yep.
But when you're in the ocean, the bigger guy's typically going to win.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a strategy more businesses need to take overall. But it's, social media and the internet makes a lot of people think wider initially because it's like, oh, I'll attract all over the place.
Yep.
And kind of being intentional about like, let me hone in. And not to say you can't start niche down and expand over time. But, niching down, I think there's something to be said.
Well, it's funny because for a football and analogy guy, you're a defensive guy. It's like, why do you want to let a receiver have the whole field when you can push into the boundary or the sideline? You're like, yo, I'm going to capture you right here. You're going to stay right there.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Put you in a position where like now I'm negating your strength because we're working in my specific range.
Exactly. And there's all that blue ocean, and that's cool. Like you can scheme or do whatever you want to the open side of the field. That's great. But like, I'm not going to be able to compete over there. So why even bother? Like, you know what I mean? It's just, there's so much analogy to it. And I also too, that's why I love like talking and speaking and working with like athletes and whatnot. Because there is such translation that goes over from everything from marketing to closing deals to selling to just ultimately your hunger, your aggressiveness. Like I used to tell people all the time, like, again, shout out to Jules. He's done so many good things post football, but he's just a guy that's his intensity. He just always has to be going. He's got his motor running. He's passionate. He's competitive. Like I love in any aspect of like working with athletes. I just always have. Like
Yeah.
there's something different. You guys are built
I
different.
mean,
So
I feel like I have an advantage in the business space because it's like, you mean to tell me people don't show up on time? People don't respond to emails promptly. People don't, if they say they're going to do something, do it. And if they really can't for some reason, like own it and say like, oh, something really like just ownership and
yep.
accountability. Like those things are like blowing people's minds. I'm like, oh, I mean, I can survive in that. Those are the things that I thrive in,
Yep.
taking accountability, being on time, being respecting other people's time, becoming prepared, things along those lines. So, when I look at athletes, I'm like, you are poised to be successful in business. You just have to know how to translate it over, and you can have a ton of success. So I think there's more athletes getting into business in different ways. And I'm all for it because I think, it's going to make the marketplace more competitive in general because we bring a tenacity that I don't think all business people, have.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have conversations with my dad sometimes who he owned his own landscape business for many years. And it was like, I just don't get it. Like, I'm actively trying to hire somebody for this job where I need a service done and I can't even get a hold of them. Like, how did they build this business? Like, or customer service on the flip side, you're like, listen, I just paid you $5,000 for something. I just need a couple of questions answered. Like, how is this
How you
taking so long? And so I absolutely agree that there's just a lot of qualities in athletes, and again, people like yourself, where there's a trust factor, reliability, just an aggressiveness, a competitiveness and passion that's just natural, right? If you're
Yeah.
into something, you're all in, right? Because clearly, doing football from a young age, you didn't get to go on a lot of vacations. You had summer ball, you had double days, you had camp, I mean, and that was from the time, Willie Tuitama, which was one of my best friends all through college. He was like, we didn't really go on a lot of vacations all the way through college, right? And it was like, what? He's like, dude, I had football or baseball or whatever the hell it was, and that's just crazy commitments.
I mean, keeping it solid. I'm 34 years old, and I took my first vacation that was over 4 days last year.
That's wild.
Like every vacation I took was 2 or 3 days. Like I'm getting used to. I'm taking my family to Cabo coming up here
Nice.
soon, and we're going for like 8 days, and that's like feels weird for me because like I would start like guys who would like go overseas for 2 weeks. I'm like, where am I going to train?
Right.
Like it would. I'm like, I'm not doing it. So for me, a vacation would be like 2 or 3 days, a long weekend. Like max 4 days, and I need to get back. I'm used to that sacrifice and doing that. So I think it's like really puts you in a position to be successful though, because I'm not afraid of the work, and no athlete really is if you're playing at a high level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So speaking of that, now, comes the game planning and like what's next. So, you've got all these properties, you're starting to take on some hard money loans, things like that. What's your kind of vision now for the future?
So honestly, I want to liquidate a lot of my other stuff. So I own a lot of assets out of state. Now's not the greatest time in the world to start to sell. So I'm not going to fire sell. They're performing well. They've done
Yep.
well for me. But I look at the velocity of money and where I'm building a strategic advantage, and it's here locally in Arizona. So a lot of the properties I own out of state, I want to eventually sell over the next few years, pump that into the lending company. Then the syndications, the bigger deals that I'm in. So, apartment complexes, hotels, storage facilities, all of that type of stuff. I have investments all over the country in that. And as those start to pay back over the next few years, I also want to dump that into my lending company and start to pour kind of gasoline on things. And what's great is because I already have a real estate background, I'm building the relationships to where I can start to buy more properties. I'm getting more opportunities in general to where now I want to build an ecosystem of, I lend primarily through 42 Solutions, but when opportunities present themselves, I'll partner on a deal, to where I want to kind of be known as like, oh, if you have a deal, come to DK. He could either fund
Right.
the deal or maybe he'll want to buy it or he knows somebody that will buy it, to where hopefully over the next few years, people start to see and see me in that light, and I'm able to get better and better deal flow and opportunities and kind of really niche down that way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, is there anything that we didn't cover, didn't touch that you want to mention, or any shout outs there?
Man, shout out Ryan Howard for connecting us. That's my guy. Besides that, I mean, I feel like we touched on a lot. I hope it's something that can benefit the audience out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll have a ton of good things to share. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to seeing how business progresses for you. And then also, hopefully meet up for some golf or a dinner or something here pretty soon.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Awesome,
Awesome,
man.
man. Well, I
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.